Hi, I'm Cody Alexander, MatchQuarters. Wanted to break down the interception by Diggs this weekend against the Commanders. Now, these clips don't live in a vacuum, so let me set it up for you. It's 1st and 10. There's 17 seconds left. It's the end of the first half. So the way that this technique is played, I would not suggest doing this on a normal down in a first quarter when anything could be underneath, right? This is going to be a shot play by the Commanders. They're within what I would call the shot zone. So about the 35 to the 35 is usually where you get these shot zones, especially when you cross the 50. Now, when you have this much time on it, it's on the clock. It's okay to allow the receiver to catch something underneath. Just you have to make sure you secure the tackle. Right now, they're thinking shot play, go deep. This is their speedy receiver. They feel like Wentz feels like he has a matchup with Dotson on Diggs, which again, I probably wouldn't have thrown to Diggs, would have thrown somewhere else. But let's break this down. Let's break the technique down. So from the get, you're going to see this is almost a bail release. Now, you can use a bail release from an off stance. I don't prefer it because what you're doing right now is you've essentially allowed him, one, access to the post area. Two, anytime he can press you vertical, undercut, you're gonna be in difficult position. But again, these plays don't live in a vacuum. So this is end of half play. This is a great example of basically using your bail technique in an off position to gain access to the ball in the air, especially on a deep throw. So you get essentially Dotson doesn't even give a release. He's just burning down the field. What I really like about what Diggs does is right here. Notice how his eyes are down. Okay. He's seeing the outside hip of the receiver, and he's able to keep an eye on number two to figure out what the route combination is going to be, because two is going to tell you more than number one is going to in terms of what the route combination is going to be. He can also stack the receiver. One of the big things that a lot of DBs make the mistake of is that they don't work to stack the receiver. Doing that stack does a couple of things. One, you can see how it changes the trajectory of Dotson. Dotson now, in order to gain access to the fade route that he's running, has to change his momentum. He now has to work. He can't just run straight down the field. A lot of times what DBs do, instead of fading into the midpoint right here, they just stay on a rail and they stay on the bottom of this numbers in the NFL. We're using this number. So they just stay in one place and realize that there is a ton of space out here. The fade route is called a fade because you're throwing it to the receiver and he's fading to the sideline. So it's not just a seam. It's not just a vertical. I know when you play Madden, that line's just straight line. That's not how this is. Remember, this is real life. This isn't a video game. That's what I used to always tell my younger players. We don't play in video games, so you don't stay on a rail. You don't stay in one spot. So what I really like about this is he gets his butt side down. Notice how his shoulders are staying square. He's not leaning upfield, but rather keeping a lot of that weight right there. Because the one thing you can get here with 17 seconds left is you can get that kind of that fade comeback, and they snap it down at around 15 to 20 and then head to the sideline. And by that time, that quarterback's throwing out. What I really like about this positioning is that notice how he keeps his feet together. It's a slight crossover. I prefer not to have a crossover, but it's really difficult on this sideways run. What you're getting right now is essentially he's just step replacing, keeping his eyes down. Once he sees this outside fade, he knows now that it's going to be a fade route. And the reason why he knows it's going to be a fade route, most comeback routes, you're not going to fade into the sideline and then snap down. You've just eliminated a bunch of space for you. So now he knows, okay, I know this is a fade route. He's going to track the ball. So he sees the ball. Now, coach, you talk about fading into the receiver, getting this. When you are off deep like this and you see the ball in the air, and you know that I am positioned in front of that receiver, and the trajectory of the ball is not to the sideline. You can tell right now he sees that this is going to be right on the red line. So if you've ever been to a college practice or you've ever seen an NFL practice where there's a red line on the field, this is that red line, that midpoint almost between usually where the emblem is to the sideline, and that red line tells the receivers during practice, this is your fade line. If you get out any further than that, you're probably not going to make the catch on the ball. So this is a great example of playing your technique, understanding down and distance, understanding time on the clock, understanding route recognition. I really like this. This is a good technique for, hey, if we're playing bail, this is what it should look like. If we're playing into the half mechanics and you get a solo, which is essentially what they're trying to do here, how to play that bail technique, working to the midpoint of the receiver. And then look, become the receiver. The moment that you know what the route is, the moment that the ball is in the air, you become the receiver. A lot of DBs, what ends up happening is that notice where he's running. He's not trying to stick out his arm for an arm bar. He's not trying to feel that receiver. He's not right there and trying to grab that hip and slowly getting back. What he's doing is accelerating to the ball. And that is why Diggs is one of the best in phase corners in the NFL. And what that means is he plays a lot of man technique. He plays near the receiver, which means he's in phase a lot of time. So he is one of the best at playing this. And this is why I wanted to use this, because this is an off technique. He's not pressing, it's into the half. And I wanted to use this because this is a great explanation of what it should look like for bail technique, what it should look like for off man with a zone turn. A lot of guys, I get in arguments all the time with coaches about, well, shouldn't he man turn this? It's man. But look, this is a perfect example of a zone turn. When you are a dominant corner, you're in a dominant position, zone turn, see the ball, get the ball. I learned that from Phil Bennett when I worked with him at Baylor. I'm a big believer in it. Once your DBs understand that, and once you get DBs like this to understand that, then they start making a lot of picks, because in a man coverage, you're more likely, especially when I'm looking at the receiver, you're more likely to get hit in the head or be late to punch the ball or to get a penalty. Here in a zone turn off of this, understanding that it's a deep ball, you're more likely to get a pick. So this is really good technique. Go get the ball. And Diggs is one of the best at doing it in the NFL.